In pursuit of the perfect physique and global fame, some bodybuilders drove themselves past human limits, only to have the very substances they trusted betray them. These are the athletes who trained harder, lifted heavier, and crossed every line chasing greatness, only to pay the ultimate price.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you.
Their stories end in sudden collapse, hearts that gave out too soon, and lives cut tragically short. Join us as we uncover 10 shocking deaths that shook the bodybuilding world. Number 10. Beytullah Abbaspor. Beytullah Beto. Abbaspor's journey didn't start in any fancy sports academy. It began in the quiet Kurdish town of Biyar, Iran, where he was born on March 11, 1978. After moving to the industrial sprawl of Karaj, west of Tehran, he replaced school and soccer practice with late-night bench presses in a cramped neighborhood gym. That gym, small as it was, would one day bear his name. By the time he hit his mid-20s, Beto was already turning heads. In 2003, he made history in Mumbai, India, by winning gold at the World Amateur Championships. That win didn't just give him a trophy, it earned him Iran's very first IFBB Pro card. And somehow, he was doing all of this while studying law and mentoring young lifters at home. At just 5 feet 5 inches tall and competing around 209 pounds, Beto carved a body that was anything but ordinary. His legs were so massive and defined that Iranian reporters started calling them stone columns. Then came 2012, the year everything changed. He grabbed third at Mr. Europe Grand Prix, fourth at FIBO Power in Germany, and landed a 16th place finish at Mr. Olympia in Las Vegas. That made him the first Iranian to ever pose on that world-famous Olympia stage. 1 year later, he crushed the Nordic Pro, and in 2014, he made a bold switch to the lighter 212 division. That risk paid off. He finished 5th in the Olympia 212 showdown, took 3rd in Korea, and placed 2nd in both Prague and San Marino. Persian fitness sites exploded, and a shy newcomer named Hadi Chupan suddenly started believing that he too could make it to Olympia. But early in the next season, something went terribly wrong. Beto started experiencing strange fevers, joint pain, and mysterious skin lesions. Doctors diagnosed him with systemic vasculitis, an autoimmune disease that slowly scars blood vessels and cuts off oxygen to organs. Despite months of treatment, he collapsed on August 25, 2015, in a Tehran hospital. That night, at 11:15, he passed away. He was just 37. Fans across Iran were up all night, hoping for a miracle that never came. His funeral brought out thousands. Even national television stopped regular programming for a tribute. And today, every time Hadi Chupan takes the stage, people remember the man who proved a kid from Bijar could stand tall in Vegas. Number 9. Rich Piana. Rich Piana wasn't the kind of guy you forgot. He didn't just walk into the room, he owned it. Born on September 26, 1970 in Glendale, California, Rich started dominating the stage early. By the time he was 19, he had already won NPC Mr. Teen California. In 1998, he added Mr. California to his trophy shelf. Standing 6 feet 1 inch tall, Rich was a beast. Off-season, he packed on over 315 pounds. Then, right before competitions, he would shred down to around 286 pounds. All of that while making quick appearances on TV shows like Scrubs and Malcolm in the Middle, and building his own supplement company, 5% Nutrition. But it wasn't just his size that got attention, it was his honesty. In a viral YouTube video from 2014, Rich talked openly about using steroids for nearly 30 years. He didn't glamorize it. Instead, he told viewers straight up, if you're not ready to deal with the consequences, stay natural. That warning would come back around in a painful way. By early August 2017, something was clearly wrong. Rich felt wiped out, tired, nauseous, short of breath. But he kept filming videos anyway, spending 2 hours at a time in front of the camera. On August 7th, while getting a mohawk trim in his Clearwater, Florida condo, he collapsed and hit his head on the bathroom floor. His girlfriend, Chanel Jansen, called 911 and tried CPR, but moving his 300-pound body was almost impossible. Paramedics showed up around 10 minutes later. They found him barely alive, and next to him were 20 vials of testosterone and a credit card dusted with white powder. Doctors put him into a medically induced coma at Largo Medical Center. They cooled his body to try to reduce brain swelling caused by oxygen loss. Fans online were glued to updates. But on August 25th, the news broke. Rich was gone at age 46. The autopsy found his heart weighed almost 1.5 pounds, twice the size of a normal one. His liver was also enlarged. He had severe heart disease, fluid in his lungs, and thyroid problems. But without blood or urine tests, doctors couldn't officially list a cause of death. Even now, Rich's videos still draw millions of views. And whether you admired him or feared the choices he made, one thing's clear: Rich Piana never kept quiet about the risks. Number 8. Art Atwood. Art Atwood was built like a concrete wall. Born on December 27, 1973, in Greenfield, Wisconsin, Art spent his early years blowing past defenders on the football field and throwing shot put with power. But by age 12, he was already lifting weights in his parents' basement, trying to outrun linemen twice his size. That drive never faded. Standing 5 feet 11 inches tall, he bulked to over 330 pounds in the offseason and still hit the stage at a ripped 295. On contest day, he made everyone else in the lineup look small. Art's rise in the sport was fast and brutal. He dominated the NPC Junior USA in 2000, then followed it up with a win at the NPC Nationals in 2001, earning his IFBB Pro card. Just 1 year later, he stormed into the pro scene, winning the 2002 Toronto Pro Invitational on his debut. 8 weeks later, he placed 12th at Mr. Olympia, still the highest Olympia finish by any first-year American heavyweight that season. Crowds loved the sheer size. Magazines said his arms measured over 23 inches when fully pumped, and fans nicknamed him the Walking Granite Quarry. But behind the size, cracks started to form. In May 2007, Texas narcotics officers arrested Art after tracing online steroid sales to him. He avoided jail by cooperating with Operation Raw Deal, a massive federal sting that seized 11 million doses of steroids and led to over 120 arrests. After that, Art stepped away from the stage and focused on his supplement business, Mass Results, running it out of a Dallas warehouse. By late summer of 2011, Art started complaining about chest tightness, but blamed it on the Texas heat. On September 11th, he collapsed into a pool near his Plano condo from a massive heart attack. 2 neighbors pulled him out and did CPR until help arrived. Paramedics got his pulse back, but he never woke up. He was pronounced dead at 5:30 p.m. at just 37 years old. Doctors later found that he'd had an earlier, smaller heart attack about a month before, a silent one that weakened his heart enough to make the second one fatal. Art left behind a wife and 2 daughters. Number 7. Andreas Muner. Andreas Muner looked like he was carved out of steel. His skin was so thin and dry that every single vein stood out like highway lines on a map. Born on October 25, 1964, in Styria, Austria, he grew up watching another Austrian legend, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and set out to follow in his footsteps. At 5 feet 9 inches and competing around 210 pounds, Muner earned a reputation for showing up leaner than anyone else. Photos from the 1996 Arnold Classic show muscle striations so sharp they cut across his obliques like wires on a piano. That same contest would be both a major career high and the first sign of trouble. Placing 6th at a show packed with heavy hitters was a huge deal, but Andreas ignored people who urged him to take a break. His prep was brutal. He kept calories around 2,000 per day, did 2 rounds of cardio daily, took aspirin to keep his blood thin, used stimulants like ephedrine and Captagon to stay alert, and relied on powerful potassium-sparing diuretics like Lasix and Aldactone to squeeze every drop of water from under his skin. On March 12, 1996, Muner was rushed to a hospital in Graz after complaining of intense stomach pain. Surgeons opened him up and were stunned. His liver was packed with tumors the size of ping-pong balls and fell apart at the slightest touch. His kidneys were swollen, stripped of any protective fat, and his lungs had started to fail. They tried everything: blood transfusions, emergency care. But 2 days later, at 6:30 a.m. on March 14th, his heart gave out. He was only 31. The autopsy told the rest of the story. His heart weighed about 1.4 pounds, almost double what it should. His liver came in at 6.6 pounds, also massively oversized. More than 20 different substances were found in his system, including steroids, clenbuterol, and dangerously high potassium from the diuretics. One doctor said his internal state looked like snake venom had been running through a body that had no water or electrolytes left to fight back. Arnold Schwarzenegger sent a wreath that read, "A last greeting to a friend." Number 6. Nasser Elsbati. Nasser Elsbati didn't just walk onto the stage, he dominated it. With his signature round glasses and a massive physique that hovered above 330 pounds in the off-season, he was impossible to miss. What really set him apart wasn't just the size, it was the balance. Even at that weight, he kept his waist tight and his lines sharp. Born on October 15, 1965 in Stuttgart, Germany, to an Egyptian father and a Yugoslav mother, Nasser had brains to match the brawn. He held a degree in history, political science, and sociology before shifting all his focus to bodybuilding. By 1997, he was standing toe-to-toe with the best, literally. That year, he placed second to Dorian Yates at Mr. Olympia, and even now, fans still argue he should have taken the top spot. 2 years later, he silenced every critic by winning the Arnold Classic at a competition weight of nearly 285 pounds, blending raw mass with textbook symmetry in a way that few ever have. But the same body that brought him fame also started breaking down. In late 2002, a tainted oil injection triggered a dangerous staph infection in his right shoulder. Multiple surgeries followed, carving away infected tissue, and his once massive deltoid was never quite the same. Talk of synthol use followed him for years, but Nasser just brushed it off. Still, his shoulder never fully recovered, and the difference showed in photos. Even after more than 30 professional shows, he didn't ease off. He still walked on stage at nearly 270 pounds, pushing his body to its absolute limit. In November 2012, it caught up with him. He was hospitalized in San Diego with severe shortness of breath. Doctors diagnosed congestive heart failure and kidney failure. Dialysis began, and the only real solution, a transplant, was ruled out due to underlying infections and long-term steroid use. Nasser returned to Egypt to be with family. On March 20, 2013, hotel staff in Cairo found him lifeless in bed. He was 47. The autopsy revealed a heart weighing over 1 1/3 pounds, twice the normal weight. The damage was classic: left ventricular hypertrophy, likely caused by years of high blood pressure, dehydrating diuretics, and massive steroid cycles. To his fans, he's still the uncrowned Olympia champ, a multilingual powerhouse with 15-inch forearms and a sharp mind. Number 5. George Peterson. George "Da Bull" Peterson had a back so wide it looked like it could block the stage lights. Born on June 20, 1984 in Queens, New York, George wasn't drawn to weights for trophies at first. He just wanted to power up his karate kicks. But once he walked into Bev Francis's powerhouse gym, everything changed. A training partner shouted, "Charge, Bull," during a brutal set, and the name stuck. Standing 5 feet 7 inches tall, George carried around 235 pounds of dense muscle in the off-season. But when it came time to compete, he would cut down to 212 without sacrificing any size or shape. His rise through the ranks was fast and fierce. In 2016, he dominated the Eastern USA Championships, then hours later became the very first NPC Nationals Classic Physique champion. That win earned him his pro card on the spot. From 2017 to 2019, he placed third 3 years in a row at the Classic Physique Olympia, with fans going wild every time he hit that signature vacuum pose and showed off a back that looked carved out of granite. The biggest moment of his career came on March 1, 2019, when he won the Arnold Classic Physique title in Columbus, shaking hands with Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. Not one to stay comfortable, George pushed into the heavier 212 division in 2020. He added even more muscle, especially in his 25-inch quads, while somehow keeping his balance and flow. It worked. He placed third at the Olympia and came back in 2021 ready to win it all. On October 5th, his coach, Justin Miller, took a final check-in photo. George looked razor-sharp, smiling, and fully ready. Then came the silence. On October 6th, Miller unlocked George's hotel room at the Marriott in Orlando. George was face down on the floor and already cold. EMTs couldn't bring him back. He was 37. Tributes flooded in for the man fans knew as a gentle giant. The autopsy listed the cause of death as sudden cardiac dysrhythmia caused by high blood pressure and heart strain. Steroid use was marked as a contributing factor, but the death was ruled natural. His Arnold trophy now sits on display at Bev Francis's gym, and his posing routines are still studied by up-and-comers trying to learn how to move with power and style. Number 4. Greg Kovac. Greg Kovac was never built for average. Born and raised in Niagara Falls, Ontario, his first dream was to play pro hockey, but by the time he hit his mid-20s, he had transformed into something you didn't just walk past, you stopped and stared. Standing 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighing more than 420 pounds in the off-season, Greg had arms stretching 25 inches around and a chest that measured an unbelievable 70 inches. His legs? 35 inches of pure power. Magazines started calling him Canada's mass monster, and when Flex caught him bench pressing 550 pounds without even using wrist wraps, those wild numbers suddenly felt very real. He earned his IFBB Pro card in 1996 after dominating the Canadian Nationals. But as big as he was, those massive stats didn't always mean high placements on the score sheet. His best pro result came in 2004 at the Arnold Classic, where he finished 13th. Still, even the guys who beat him looked half his size when standing next to him. One thing Greg absolutely mastered was eating. He was pushing down around 13,000 calories a day, every single day. That meant over 6 pounds of steak, more than a pound of potatoes, piles of asparagus, a dozen eggs, protein shakes, and enough oatmeal and rice to hit over 2¼ pounds of carbs. His cheat meals were so massive, his friends used to joke that they could feed an entire family for a week, but the cost was steep. He sweat constantly, had dangerously high blood pressure, and felt so drained most days that his wife, Kim, had to follow him around with a fan. She later helped him with basic things like bathing, as his skin became covered in painful injection sites and blood blisters. By 2008, his body had started to crash. Greg collapsed under a 440-pound incline press and was put on a ventilator. He slimmed down for a bit, but quickly ballooned back over 350 pounds while running a supplement company and coaching others. On November 22, 2013, Greg suffered severe chest pain at home. Paramedics rushed in, but by 9:50 p.m., his heart gave out. He was just 44. The autopsy confirmed what many feared: an enlarged heart, clogged arteries, and multiple organ strain from years of steroids and massive eating. But even now, fans remember him as the guy who once made Ronnie Coleman feel small, and that says everything. Number 3. Cedric McMillan. Cedric Kenneth McMillan wasn't built like the mass monsters of today. He looked like he stepped out of a golden age bodybuilding poster, only bigger. Standing 6 feet 1 inch tall and weighing around 286 pounds on stage, often tipping past 300 in the off-season, Cedric somehow kept the flowing shape of old-school legends like Frank Zane. Born on August 17, 1977, in Maplewood, New Jersey, Cedric was an artist before he was an athlete. He spent his teenage years sketching superheroes before trading pencils for combat boots. At 18, he joined the United States Army and climbed the ranks to become a sergeant first class, training recruits at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Even while packing a size few could match, he'd still sprint obstacle courses alongside much smaller soldiers. His breakout came at the 2017 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. Cedric's routine wasn't about brute size. It was about grace, symmetry, and flow. With sweeping legs, a tight waist, and transitions that looked like choreography, he won the judges over and earned a handshake from Arnold Schwarzenegger himself, along with a $38,000 prize. He followed it up with a top 10 Mr. Olympia finish in 2016, then spent the next few years guest posing worldwide and inspiring younger lifters to chase more than just size. Things took a dark turn in early 2020 after he caught COVID-19. He survived the fever, but the fatigue lingered. Climbing stairs left him winded. That November, doctors discovered pneumonia, fluid around his heart, and a dangerously slow resting pulse, sometimes in the 30s. He joked about being tough enough to rip off the monitor leads, but doctors weren't laughing. He was sedated and placed on a ventilator for 3 days. Cedric made it through, but his health never fully recovered. He skipped shows in 2021 when breathing problems came back, but kept training. In early 2022, he tried easing into cardio again. Then on April 12th, at 6:30 in the morning, Cedric collapsed during a treadmill session at Fort Jackson. Medics tried to revive him, but it was too late. He was 44. Doctors blamed a heart attack. Friends said he'd been prescribed beta blockers, but rarely trained with a heart monitor. Arnold called him a hero in and out of uniform. Number 2. Danielle Searichi. Danielle Searichi looked like a marble statue blown up to life size. Born on June 10, 1980 in Livorno, Italy, he first picked up weights at 16 to boost his power in judo. But once he saw what his body could do under a barbell, there was no going back. Just 4 years later, he took home the top prize at the Venice Beach Grand Prix. By age 26, he was competing professionally, tipping the scale at more than 320 pounds in the off-season and stepping on stage at around 298. That mass earned him a place in the Guinness World Records in 2010, where he was officially recognized as the heaviest competitive bodybuilder on record, with arms measuring nearly 22 inches around. Still, that size didn't always guarantee top finishes. His most notable win came at the IFBB Grand Prix in Toronto back in 2004, and he spent the next several years grinding through European shows. He once missed qualifying for Mr. Olympia by just 1 point. Even so, fans loved watching him pose, especially when he hit a rear double biceps and his 45-inch lats flared out like wings. But the spotlight wasn't always kind. In October 2011, Milan police arrested him for allegedly importing and reselling anabolic steroids. Court documents claimed he sold growth hormone and insulin under false prescriptions. He was put under house arrest for 6 days before being released due to health issues, though the legal cloud never fully disappeared. Danielle didn't back down. On August 31, 2013, he competed at the Nordic Pro in Lahti, Finland, placing 6th, just behind rising star Alexei Lesukov. He flew home to Toronto the next day, exhausted but satisfied. Then, on the morning of September 4th, everything stopped. His mother found him collapsed on the kitchen floor of their apartment in the Lama district. Emergency responders couldn't revive him. He was just 33. Doctors ruled it an acute heart attack and later found signs he had quietly suffered another one weeks earlier. The news shook Italy. Some called him a tragic warning, others a fallen icon. But everyone agreed on one thing: Danielle Searichi pushed his body further than most thought possible. Number 1. Jon "Mountain Dog" Meadows. Born on April 11, 1972 in Washington Courthouse, Ohio, Jon Meadows lost his mother early and was raised by his grandmother. At 13, he picked up a used weight set and entered his first teen show. He placed dead last, but he was hooked. That one loss sparked a lifetime of lifting. At 5 feet 6 inches and a contest weight near 215 pounds, Jon built one of the most respected backs in bodybuilding: thick, detailed, and brutally strong, all while earning a health and fitness degree from Capital University. For 20 years, he stayed locked in the amateur trenches. Then in 2015, at age 43, he finally broke through, winning both the Masters and Open Light Heavyweight titles at the NPC Universe in New Jersey to earn his IFBB Pro card. But that was only part of his impact. His real influence exploded online. Through MountainDogDiet.com and his YouTube channel, he introduced lifters to his high-volume, controlled tempo workouts, like barbell rows with slow 4-second negatives. His mix of old-school effort and modern precision pulled in hundreds of thousands of followers, all chasing the Mountain Dog way. And it wasn't just followers. Jon became one of the most respected coaches in the sport. He trained future Olympia champions like Sean Clarita and Missy Truscott, proving you didn't need an Olympia medal to shape winners. But behind the strength was a battle most never saw. In 2005, Jon had his entire colon removed after it burst from a rare condition called idiopathic myointimal hyperplasia. It left him with lifelong clotting risks. On May 11, 2020, 2 massive blood clots blocked the arteries to his heart. Surgeons cleared them, and Jon walked out of the hospital cracking jokes about earning cheat meals the hard way. His arteries were clear. This wasn't about diet, it was genetic. But genetics struck again. On August 8, 2021, his wife, Mary, found him unresponsive in their home. He was only 49. The cause, a sudden pulmonary embolism, a clot that struck out of nowhere. Friends carried his casket past his twin sons, Jonathan and Alexander, while the bodybuilding world mourned. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.